You're a student, a recent graduate, maybe preparing for a job interview or simply wondering what your next step could be, this session is for you. Over the next hour, you'll hear from real Ferrero professionals with different paths and experiences. Some of them have built international careers over several years, while others have started their journey a bit more recently. But most importantly, this is your opportunity to ask your questions. Our team backstage will be monitoring your questions coming in through the chat, and we'll bring as many of them as possible into the live conversation. So you can ask us anything about resumes, interviews, building your own path, choosing a career, and we'll monitor your questions throughout the next hour. Also, we'd love for you to share this event on your social media, so make sure you tag Ferrero's official social media channels and use the hashtag Ferrero Career Bites. Guess we're ready? Let's get started. Let's begin with our first two guests. They've built careers across different countries, functions, facing very different business challenges. But the question is, did they always know where they were going, or were there some unexpected turns along the way? Before we meet them live, let's take a quick look at their paths. Introduce yourself in one sentence.
I'm Juliana Jaramillo. I am from Colombia.
My name is Emmanuel Soleil-Boumson. I'm working for Ferrero since 2014. Now I'm Cameroonian and I live in Luxembourg now.
What's your role at Ferrero?
At Ferrero, I'm doing commercial controlling.
I am a Global Traditional Trade Acceleration Manager.
One word to describe your career journey so far.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Top 3 skills needed for your role.
Be organized, be analytical, and stay stress resistant.
So 1, strategic mindset. 2, resilience. 3, change management.
What do you enjoy the most about your job?
Working with other people and working with other areas and working with people from different nationalities.
What I like the most about my job is the fact that I have to analyze numbers. This is really something that I like to have to explore, to understand, to give the meanings of numbers. That's something that passionates me.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us. Very happy to be here.
Thank you.
So, for all of you who are watching us live, remember to start sending in your questions through the chat, because in a minute, we're gonna ask your questions to our guests. But before we get started, I have a question for you. Expectations versus reality. When you were at the beginning of your career, what did you think your professional path would look like and what turned out to be different? Juliana, you wanna start?
Well, it was very different. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to be an artist. I went into marketing, then sales, then trade marketing, and I'm now in sales business development. So it has been an interesting journey.
You're gonna tell us more about that later.
Sure.
Thank you. And Emmanuel, what about you?
I was always passionate by computer science, and now I end up doing commercial controlling in an international company, what passionates me a lot.
Fantastic. We'll also learn more about that with the questions coming in from the audience. But before that, I have another question for Juliana. Mm-hmm. So, as a manager, what do you think makes a candidate stand out in interviews?
Curiosity. Asking questions, being prepared is the main point.
Fantastic. And Emmanuel, so what is a soft skill that is very important in your role?
In my role, as we're working with different people and we have to be in contact with various stakeholders, I think communication is one of the key soft skills for my role.
Fantastic. Juliana, you already told us that you started in marketing and then you moved towards a commercial leadership role. So the question is, what helped you navigate that transition?
Being open to change. So change management, being open to the different opportunities, being open to being uncomfortable. When you are uncomfortable is when you usually learn the most.
Fantastic. And Emmanuel, you said in your interview that before joining Ferrero, you had never worked for such a global company. So what was the biggest adjustment for you?
The biggest adjustment is to get used to work with people from different horizons and different environments. So to be multicultural in working with people, and that is most of the biggest things that I have to adjust when I joined Ferrero.
So I have another question for both of you. What is one thing that looks intimidating from the outside when we speak about like professional life, but it looks a bit more manageable once you experience it? So something that might look intimidating while you're a student, for example, but then you understand you can actually manage it. You may want to start, Juliana?
Sure, I would say maybe presenting to large audiences. So you deliver a presentation to senior stakeholders, and this looks terrifying when you're just starting. But as you start doing it in your different jobs, it gets easier and manageable, I would say.
What about you? You have the same experience?
Yeah, what I've seen since my experience in Ferrero is that from outside, Ferrero may look like a big company, and actually it is. It's a very big company, an international one. But in the teams, you feel more in a family environment. So it can look intimidating to work for such a company with thousands and thousands of employees. But in reality, it's really manageable. When you work with people, your close contacts in the company, it's less intimidating then. Yeah.
And one last question before we start reading out the questions coming in from the audience. What is one thing you wish more young people knew about building a career? If you had to pick one thing that you wish more young people knew, what would it be? Emmanuel?
It would be to be patient.
Patient.
Yeah, you to not expect things to come immediately when they want. They have to take the time. Sometimes they need to be patient and to not expect things to happen immediately.
What do you think?
No, this comes hand in hand with being open to learn from other people. You learn from the books, but real life experiences are the ones that are going to give you the path. So that's it.
That's very good advice. Thank you. But now I'm curious to read some of the questions that we received from the audience. So let's read the first one. Sophia, I'm currently doing an internship. Do you have any tips to stand out? Who wants to answer that? Any tips to stand out as an intern?
Yeah, something that can help to stand out during an intern is to really concentrate when they're doing the things, to do things properly, to not just do things to say I've done it and then I move to the next things. And the good interns is the intern that is really interested in what he's doing.
You agree? I see you nodding.
I agree. Yes. Being curious and open to learn.
Great. So let's read the next question. Meltem would like to know, and I guess this is for you, Juliana, what is one of the biggest challenges in sales for Ferrero?
Wow. I think there's a lot of challenges. We sell beautiful, tasty, delicious products, but we are premium products, and in some places of the world, our prices might seem a little bit high. So getting out there what our benefit is versus the competition is one of the main challenges.
Thank you. And let's see if there's another question. Keep sending in your questions, and I'm gonna ask you another one in the meantime. So, do you have instead any advice to prepare for job interviews?
You want to start?
Sure. I would say do your homework. Go into the company's webpage, understand what they do, what you like about them, how you relate to the culture that you see, and maybe try to speak to other people that work there if it's available to you to understand the culture.
Any other advice?
I would say the same, but I used to use the word investigate about the position and the company you are applying for. to know what the company is, what is the product, what is a bit of history. It's always good when you're interviewing candidates to understand that he came prepared for the position. It helps.
So prepare. Before a job interview, make sure you do your homework, as our guest said. So we have another question from David. What strategic competencies do you look for in a senior sales leader? That's a very complex question, and actually it's a double question. And how does Ferrero balance strengthening its core business while pursuing new opportunities? I would say let's start with the first part. Maybe this is more for you, Juliana. So what are the strategic competencies to work as a senior sales leader?
So senior sales leaders usually need to have a very strategic mindset, channel and customer-centric view to know who they're selling to, but also very hard communication skills, because they don't only need to manage customers, they need to manage their teams. And these three things, I would say, come hand in hand. And being open to change, because out there in the real world, everything changes constantly.
Talking about change, I have another question for Emmanuel, unless we're getting a new one from the audience. But how do you make sure, what advice would you give to someone who wants to work in your role and who has to keep up with the latest technologies, always learn new skills? How to keep up?
How to keep up with the new technologies,
Yeah.
you mean? Actually, it has to be open to learn new things, and we're actually lucky in Ferrero, because also in Ferrero we have a continuous learning program. So in Ferrero he will be feed with open with new technologies. Also keep informed via the media, because also we learn what's happening with AI now and what is tomorrow. That's it. And trying also with traditional technologies that we have, I might say, like Excel, for instance, for a controller, it's a very important tool. And we always have something to learn with Excel, for instance. So it has to learn via experts on different media and also from colleagues also, because we learn a lot from colleagues. So we have to be open-minded to ask help to others people and to accept the supports we can get.
Fantastic. And as you mentioned, it's not only about keeping up with the latest technologies, but it's also about knowing how to manage the basics, right? They're still relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, another question I would have is this. Any advice for your first day at a new job? Like, what should you do on your very first day in a new job?
Wow.
Juliana?
Come prepared and be open to whatever is coming your way. So ask the questions, understand where you are, what the expectations are from your role, and just try to have fun on that first day. Try to relax and have fun.
That's true, but I want also to add something, which is do not be closed to the expectations. When you start a new role, you might already have an idea of what you will do. That's fine. But really be open, because sometimes the first activity, the first task that will be asked to you might not look like what you expect at the beginning. And if you're very close, it can be a disappointment. You can be disappointed by that. And it can impact if, for instance, if you are in a trial period, you cannot match because it's not really what I was expecting. But no, be open, take everything which is asked to you to do, and enjoy your first day, basically.
And what about the first month in a new role? Let's say if someone junior, especially someone early in their career, it's starting in a new role, maybe their first job, what advice would you give them to thrive in their first month?
I would say, again, it's about being curious, asking the questions, maybe partnering with someone that is already doing the role, and shadowing them a little bit to understand what you should do and how you should maneuver inside the office if it's that space that you're at.
Yeah, the first month or so, on top of what Juliana said, is the good occasion also to discuss with the manager, because we open, we said about communication before, but really it's a good time, good moment also to discuss with the manager. Say, okay, after 1 month, you express yourself, how you're feeling, if you feel comfortable, how you deal with the activities up to now, if the workload fits yourself. Usually in the first month, the workload is not that much, because usually managers give time to newcomers to get into the position. You get to know your environment, your close colleagues. But it's communication with the manager, I would say, it's the key element to really get into the roles. The first month, the first quarter, I would say it's really important to succeed in a new position.
Thank you very much. That's like a really good practical advice, because no one teaches you, right? Like, what should you do when you actually start in a new role? Do we have any other question coming in from the audience? I'm just asking. Otherwise, again, I'm gonna ask you another question that I would have. So, you talked about like the relationship with your manager, who is also like a very important, has a very important role at the beginning of your career. So do you have any practical advice on how to build like a constructive and positive relationship with your manager when you're at the beginning of your career?
Wait, you want me to start?
Yeah, you
Please.
can go.
Thank you. One thing is right, it is true, is that all managers are not the same. So each manager has its own approach and the way to behave. But anyway, manager has interest to get you in comfort zone. So really, what's simplest is the best. Talk directly with him, ask what you have to ask. Don't feel shy or intimidated. Thinking that if I ask this or that, it might look like I don't know the job, or I don't know, I don't fit the position. It's better to ask, then the manager will help you. The managers are there to help the employee to do better. So feel free to ask everything you want to have an open communication with your manager. I think it's really important to succeed and to do correctly the job.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I would actually take it to another level, and is communicate with your peers, not only with your manager. Your manager will tell you what to do, how to do it, but also ask questions to the people around you. That is usually also very helpful when you are starting.
Thank you. Like, those are very, very good points. So your manager is there to help you, and also you can learn from your peers. That's like precious advice. Thank you. And we have another question coming in from the audience. The question is by Miriam. What's the best way to get noticed among so many candidates? Thank you, Miriam. This is an amazing question. Who would like to answer that? So how to get noticed with such a high competition?
I would say, sorry.
Go
Did you want to start?
ahead.
It's about the attitude, no? It's about having a positive attitude when you come to the interviews, because at this time, you've only gone to school. So there's not many projects, there's not a lot on your CV, so it's about the attitude that you put in that first interview when you're starting. No, positive attitude, willingness to learn and to understand, and also, again, doing your homework.
Fantastic. Would you like to add anything?
I would say also, I will add on top of that, competitive advantage. Many candidates have the same backgrounds or have the same skills and academic background like you. Try to find what makes you unique and leverage on that. Put it on top on your CV or during an interview. Try really to stress that point so that when the interviewer will remind all the candidates he have interviewed or will read all the CVs, say, this specific thing, I read it on something, it will mark him, and if it fits the position, for sure you will stand out.
I love that. That's great advice. Any example on like what could be, practically speaking, like a competitive advantage, or something that can really make you stand out when you don't have a lot of experience?
It might be one specific experience. I'll take a stupid example. If you did an intern abroad, for instance, okay, you have an academy, you have the diploma, but then on top you said, I've done my interns in one specific condition, in a zoo somewhere, I don't know. That's something, maybe it doesn't fit because you're applying for controlling, but it will mark that these guys, it has worked with a complete different environment, so he's adapted to change, he is stress resistant enough. Something like that is very, very particular. Or if you did something at school with some classmate, if you realize a specific project, leverage on that. We have developed an Excel-based application to do this or that. Even if it's not really, but they have the possibility to go outside the path and to think differently. So on top of the academic background, these candidates has this on top that might interest me. And if it match with the expectation of the manager or HR, you might be selected.
That's great advice. I love that. And Juliana, do you also agree that even if something does not seem directly related to the job you're applying for, extracurricular activities or like these non-academic experiences, do you think they also bring value to your professional path?
100%, yes, they do. Even if it's just that you helped in a nonprofit organization, something that you did in your neighborhood, even by yourself or with your peers in the university, all of these experiences are very valuable when you haven't started yet your working career.
Yeah, because many people think that at the beginning of your career, when you don't have, again, much work experience, that these things don't really matter. But maybe even your hobby, could bring extra value, right?
Yes.
So what do you think about soft skills? Because we already mentioned it. Emmanuel already said something also about like your role, working, controlling, communication is crucial, you said. Do you really believe, like from your experience as professionals, that apart from having like a solid academic background, it's important to work on your soft skills? And if yes, what would be one key soft skill that anyone should develop nowadays to thrive? So Juliana, like what do you think? Do you think soft skills are important, and
yes,
what would be?
Very important. Your technical skills will take you up to a certain point, but your soft skills will help you maneuver the way to where you want to get, and actually, I would say, potentialize those technical skills. You mentioned communication. I would mention maybe being open to change. We call it change management in the business world, but being open to change, to the different opportunities, is a very important soft skill in an ever-changing world and environment.
Anything else you would like to add, or?
Not that much. I completely agree with what you say. Soft skills are definitely very, very, very important. Also, especially when you grow, because academic, technical skills, there is a limit. Okay, you can be an excellent technically speaking, but then to become a manager and growing again and again and again, at a certain point, soft skills matters the most. So you have to really leverage. It's very, very important, actually.
We have another question. I love this question. Thank you. Mahmoud is sending over this question. In a networking event or a career fair, what is your advice for a student to leave like a good impression with HR to get an interview? So if you ever experienced attending like a career event or a networking event, any tips to get a chance at being interviewed?
As we said before, again, you have to prepare for the events. You have to know, because you have also to know what you want. The first thing is to know exactly what, because in a career event, you have different companies with different activities, and you need to know exactly, if you just come there like a tourist, you have less chance to attract the HR. When you are prepared, you know, in that event we have Ferrero, and Ferrero does this. Okay, then you get there and you ask questions. You're not just passive, waiting for HR to ask you questions, to get information from you. You have to be proactive. And from there, they will get, among all the visitors of our stand, we had some candidates that were more proactive, more active. I think it's anyway to get to stand out in an event. You have to be proactive. If you're passive, no. If you are a tourist, no. You have to be prepared and to get to the others, to hit them basically.
Nice. That's a nice metaphor. Like you don't have to be a tourist when you're at a career fair, right?
Yeah.
Just like try and understand and navigate who's out there, but just go prepared, have an objective somehow, right? Know what you want. That's great advice. What do you think, Juliana?
No, I can leverage on that. But knowing what you want doesn't mean you know exactly where you want to be. It just needs, you need to have a couple of areas of interest to know if you want maybe marketing and sales, or maybe you're very numbers focused and you want to go into the financial and controlling areas, or you like supply chain. So know at least where you would like to go so that you can approach it that way.
Fantastic. I'm going to read out another question from, I think, Agnes. My question is, how do you stand out when you apply in your application? So it's like, it's again the topic of standing out, because competition is crazy nowadays, right? It feels like everyone starts as an intern first, but if you already have experience. So how do you stand out when you apply in, like when you already have experience? I understand this is your question, Agnes, and you can let us know if I'm wrong. Is the question clear?
I'm not sure if this is more CV focused, like how does your
I think
CV
so.
stand
It's like
out?
in your actual application.
Yeah.
When you apply for a job, how do you stand out if you already have maybe some experience?
Well, maybe start with that. Within your CV, instead of putting all your academics before, start by putting that you have some experience and find out how that experience can match the role you are applying to. Sometimes the same CV should not go out to all the companies because you're applying to different roles. So understand a bit what the role you're applying to is and try to shape it, your experience, try to shape it in a way that can coincide with the role that you're applying to.
Great. So also tailor your application.
Yes.
Great. Any other advice?
No, I have to say, when you have already an experience, it's a good point for you actually, compared to a junior who has no experience. So as you said, leverage on that. I have an experience. I know how to do it. I did it already. I did it there, and there with this kind of results. And a lot of companies are looking for people, for experienced people. So all companies are not only looking for juniors, but they also like to have people with different backgrounds, because you did it somewhere else and it might be interesting also for us. So it's a good point actually.
So also highlight your results.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Francesco would like to know, do you think it's beneficial to gain experience in other companies first, or can graduates successfully begin their careers directly at Ferrero? So it's like, it's more about if you can start your career directly at Ferrero, or in case you have started in another company first, would it also work to be able to join Ferrero?
I think it could work both ways. And we are clear examples of that. We've worked in other companies before, but we've had more than 10 years within Ferrero. And there's a lot of colleagues that started their career in Ferrero and are still there. But I would say be open to that change, because wherever you start, your career will take you to one place. So be open to other areas, be open for that change, and that way it will help you stay in just one company, like Ferrero.
I completely agree with what you say. Both ways works very well in Ferrero, and I've seen it throughout my career in Ferrero. We had some people starting there, and sometimes during awards, I'm wondering with some colleagues with 40 years, 60 years, 50 years in Ferrero. So it valorizes this experience within the group. But also, people coming from outside experience have a lot to bring in Ferrero. So both ways works.
Great, thank you. And Francesco, I have a spoiler for you. Later on, we're also going to hear from people who actually started their career in Ferrero. So we can also ask them this question. And let's see what about their experience, right? So fantastic. I think we have another question from the audience. Keep sending them in because we're going to read them out even later. So keep typing your question in the chat, whatever channel you're watching us from today. All right? Next question, please. I think I saw one, but it's fine. Okay, Davide. Okay, what keeps you motivated when things get monotonous or repetitive in your activities? First of all, does it ever happen that your job gets a bit repetitive or not?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I would say that if you are within a certain role for a certain number of years, it starts to get repetitive and you start to get comfortable because you know 100% what you're doing, how you're doing it. And this is where it's up to you, if you want it, to look for that change and to be open to something new. If we're talking about the everyday, not every day you come into the office saying, I'm doing something new. No, that's the point. Your experience helps you have those kind of monotonous days, but then it's up to you to make your role. Nobody will come in and tell you, oh, you're bored, let's do something else. It's also up to you to find different things to do and take advantage of that.
That's very true. Thank you. Any other tips?
I think what I used to do, because for sure it's always happened that you do the same things every day, you can try to improve. You can do the same thing, but in a different way. So you can try to do like that. And you can also look at the planning, the long-term planning of your activities. So you will see that from a month to another, things change. You're not always doing the same. Okay, today compared to tomorrow, it's the same, but today compared to 2 months ahead, it will be different. It's also something you can see to see that it's not always the same. Also, the career path can help. Today, I'm working on this, but I aspire tomorrow to do something else. So I have to do my job now to be qualified to do something different. So it can keep you also motivated.
But I think just like Juliana said, what you're also communicating is you should have a proactive approach, right? Like having a proactive approach on your daily work and also on your career path. So thank you so much once again, Emmanuel and Juliana, and thanks of course to everyone who sent in their questions. I think this was very useful and maybe people are gonna have even more questions for you. We're gonna read them out even after the live event. So thanks once again. Stay with us because now we're gonna talk about recruitment. So let's be honest, for many people, this is probably the most stressful part about starting a career, right? You send your CV, you wait, and you wonder if anyone read your resume, if maybe AI has rejected your resume, what recruiters are actually looking for, if you did well at a job interview. And most of this career anxiety comes from this, from not knowing how things actually work behind the scenes. So before welcoming our next guest, who are our HR experts, let me show you a little bit of a short video from our Recruitment Unwrapped series, where we talk exactly about that. Let's watch.
What happens to your resume after you apply? You might have heard a lot of things about how recruiters use AI to screen applications or resumes. But here's how things actually work behind the scenes for a recruiter. Once you apply, your application goes through an ATS. That stands for Applicant Tracking System, an AI-powered platform where recruiters manage every step of the process. So, does this mean that AI decides who gets contacted and who gets rejected? Our recruiters review every application. That's something that we take seriously because our role is to identify great talent for the company. We do use AI to support us, for example, by highlighting skills or experiences that match the role, but choosing who to contact is always a human decision.
Welcome, Michael and Irena.
Thank you.
And we're very excited to have you here, and most importantly, to have the chance to ask you the questions directly, because I'll say this before we get started. If you feel nervous about all these topics, right, like writing a CV, how to handle rejection, cover letters, anything about recruitment, don't worry, because I guess you're not the only one. It's perfectly normal to feel nervous about these topics, but this is why we're here. So we're gonna try to be as honest and useful as possible for you, okay? It also depends on you, because it depends on the questions you're gonna send in. So keep typing them in the chat and we'll bring as many of them as possible into the live conversation. But let's get started with one question. Expectations versus reality. Many people might expect recruiters to look for a perfect profile when they're recruiting people early in their career. But what are you actually looking for when you recruit someone for junior roles or internships? Michael, do you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. It's tricky, is the best answer I can give up front, because with an experienced profile for an experienced role, we already have a feeling of whether someone has relevant experience or skills, because we have a CV that says it, right? I think if someone's very junior, we have to go deeper, we have to get to know them better, we have to understand their potential, which is a very overused word in HR circles, but it's there and it's there for a reason. What I would always focus on if I were recruiting someone for a role that's more junior is really their motivation for the role and the work that they're applying to, and then the fit with our way of working. So we call this the Ferrero core competencies. Other companies have a similar matrix of kind of soft skills, behaviors that they look for. If someone has those two things, if they're a junior profile, they'll learn the rest, right? The technical skills will be something they can learn. So, if it's a role that's a bit more technical, mathematical, something like that, then of course we look at their education to make sure that they have the potential to absorb and work in that kind of environment. Or if it's more creative, we might look for those kinds of things. But the really, really important ones are the motivations and what we call the core competencies. So much more soft skills, behaviors, way of working, and kind of fit with that.
Thank you. That's very useful advice. And I love that you mentioned also the concept of core competencies, because it's something that exists at Ferrero, but also at many other companies. So it's important that you understand this concept of like core competencies. What do you think, Irena? What recruiters are actually looking for in early talents?
Maybe just to add a little bit more to this is, especially at the beginning, but also in general, is it also has been mentioned before, but really try to tailor the CV as much as possible. Maybe you think that all kind of projects, university activities, exchanges, volunteering, all those kind of activities, they actually also train you to enter, your first position, first internship. So those kind of activities, something that you can bring in the interview to show your engagement and motivation.
Thank you very much. That's also very useful. And we've mentioned it also earlier, like all these experiences that you might think are not necessarily related to the role you're applying for actually matter. And it's not me saying that, it's them. So I guess this is absolutely true. Another question I would have is, so what is one thing that young talents often misunderstand about recruitment? Would you like to start, Michael?
well, I'll reflect on myself when I was younger. It was a long time ago, maybe now, but there were many things I misunderstood. Okay, so I would say that there are so many pitfalls when you're first starting in your career, when you're first starting to understand how the world of work works, how the world of business works. So I would say that probably one thing I did wrong, I believe was wrong when I was first starting out, was kind of taking things a bit personally. I really took it to heart when I got rejected, which happens a lot. It's normal, it's part of the process. And it hurt my feelings almost. And I think that if you can let that go early, you will find the job search experience to be a bit easier, because if you feel like if you're being rejected, you feel like it's a criticism of you. But actually, our job as recruiters is to make the best possible match for the benefit of the person who's being hired just as much as the company that we're hiring for. So it's really not personal. We're very, very objective, because if we don't work in that way, if we're not objective and structured, we make mistakes. We make the wrong decision for both parties. So this is why we love our job, right? There's a responsibility there, and we help people, and we help make something great happen for people. But yeah, when I was first starting out, I think that was something that really got to me, because I just didn't understand how it worked. I didn't understand. I thought I had to charm my way into a job. But that's not how it works. We're looking for something specific, and it's okay if you don't have it, because someone else will be looking for what you've got, right?
Thank you. That's great advice, and I think many people are going to relate to that. So also don't take things personally. That's I think that is going to be like so important for many people. What do you think, Irana? What is something that young talents misunderstand about careers?
Yes, I can also add from my experience and in general, what I wish to know, it's the fact that recruitment process is not about disqualifying candidates. It's really about finding the right person, and it's also part of the process. So sometimes it's also about the right timing and the match.
That's a good point, right? Sometimes it's also a matter of right timing as well. And what do you think makes a candidate feel strong, even if they don't have much experience? Like, just so, in a short sentence, what makes a candidate feel strong?
Okay, I will start probably with the CV itself, because you can tell immediately if someone actually took time to tailor the CV to make it clear and readable. So this is the first thing. When contacting a candidate for a first call, for a first interview, you can immediately tell that someone is excited, motivated, because even the first question, that might be a bit tricky in one way, but tell me about yourself. This is the first question that can tell a lot about the personality. So as I said, really the motivation, engagement, and a lot about preparation. How much the person knows about the company, about the values, about the internship itself. That's the signs that I would say are the most evident, especially at the beginning of the process.
And in one short sentence, what do you think would make a candidate stand out if they don't have much experience?
I think everything Irene said is correct. So I will just try and summarize that in one word, which is passion. So they really care about what they're trying to achieve here. And again, I've been there. I remember applying for a job where I was kind of like, oh, if I get it, that'll be nice. Don't spend your time on those ones, or don't spend a lot of your time on those ones. Spend your time on the 20 or 30 companies or jobs that you really want, and really put the effort in. We see it, and we really appreciate it, and we do our best with those candidates, right? As recruiters, we want to support those people, because our job is to hire people that will stick, that will do well. And if we don't do that, if we regularly, bring in people that don't work out or something like that, that's on us. That's our objective. So we're really motivated to work with those people as well.
That's also a very good point, and I think a perspective that many people don't get, right, from the outside, that the recruiter's role is also this one. We have a question coming in from the audience, so let's start reading them out, okay? Onurzel would like to know what differentiates the interns who perform exceptionally well in this program. I I guess it's referring to the internship program.
We hire interns.
From those who simply meet expectations. So what really differentiates exceptional interns from those who just meet expectations? Michael, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm because I'm a bit more senior now in my career. Sometimes I manage interns, and I've worked with a few different ones in the past. If any of you are watching, you're all brilliant. So I will give a generic comment, which is that the ones who stand out is definitely people who can learn fast and apply that learning in a smart way. You either have it or you don't. We tend to try and hire people where we think they have it, so it's normally the case. But I think being attentive, paying attention, and having an energy for learning and curiosity, being able to convert that to application is what makes people stand out or not. It's not about working until 9 o'clock at night. It's not about getting in at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning. None of our interns would ever be asked to do that, but even if they did, it wouldn't make a difference. What we're looking for is that ability to learn quickly, understand something, and apply it. That's the really important part.
That's really insightful. What do you think, Irena?
I know, I totally agree. I think the other part could be the asking questions, not to be afraid of asking questions, but if I may say so, asking the right smart questions, because it's understandable. It's like, the companies new, the internship, the activities, but really taking time in understanding things, but also trying to apply sometimes critical thinking and asking yourself why. This is a good, I think, approach as well.
Well, and now, I mean, when I started my career, there was the joke of let me Google that for you. So when someone asks a question and they haven't Googled it first, that was kind of embarrassing, because it means they didn't even think for themselves, even at the beginning. If you straight away ask a question, obviously if it's urgent, you have to, but typical questions that come up. Search first, see what you can find out, and now you have AI there to accompany you. So I think, again, if as long as it's not an urgent question or an emergency, right? Never, if you're a doctor or an intern at a hospital, ask the question. But in typical day-to-day work in a normal business, check with AI, learn about the topic of the question you want to ask a little bit for yourself, because then your questions become so much smarter and your learning becomes so much deeper. You get much more value out of what you're talking about.
Which is also about showing, again, a proactive approach, trying to be solution-oriented. And I think also what you mentioned, Irena, trying to, it also shows from the questions you ask, right? That's a very good point. We usually don't take that into consideration. Let me read one last question from the audience. Have you come across candidates in networking events who left a significant impact or which later turned into an interview or offer? What would be one characteristic of such candidates that you would praise? So if it ever happened to you at a career fair or at a networking event that you met someone who left an impression and then actually you met them again at an interview. Did it ever happen to you?
It happened to me because also part of our job is to attend the job fairs. So in fact, many people come to the stand to meet us, to understand better about the company. What actually stand out in my opinion was already knowing the company, at least what is available publicly, because it's such a simple thing to go to the website and to explore a little bit more. So, of course, the awareness of the company, of the industry, of what they would like to contribute to the company. So, asking about specific positions, specific, competencies that could be relevant for the position. So, really taking the time, going a bit deeper, rather than just asking maybe some questions that, as we just talked about, something that is available already online, which is also not bad, by the way. So we are happy to answer, but on the other hand, this is something that also helps them in the recruitment process later on.
Yeah, and I think that's a great advice. Many people ask, how do I show my motivation to recruiters? Well, that's one way to do that. If you're prepared, if you've done your research, if you learned about the company, that's a practical way to show you're actually motivated. Anything to add, Michael?
Only that I think it's okay to approach job fairs in a tactical way, right? So I think Emmanuel said a lovely phrase, don't be a tourist. And that's absolutely true if you are in the active search phase, okay? So if you're in the last year of your degree or you need to line up an internship for the summer or something, yeah, don't be a tourist, be ready, be prepared, and you will stand out, just like Irena was saying. I would just add something on top of that. So notwithstanding what he said is absolutely correct. But if you're not yet active, you're in your first year of your degree, you're just graduating high school, there's an event or a careers fair, then it's okay. You can be a tourist, you can show up and ask questions and learn everything. Again, be smart, try to do a bit of research in advance, but it's okay to not be always on. Sometimes it's our responsibility to sell to you. It's our responsibility to tell you why it's great to work at our company, on the stand. But be aware of where you are in your search and therefore apply your approach accordingly. I think that's something that is really valuable. You can conserve your energy when you're a bit less active, but still keep your hands out there and keep seeing what's going on. When you're active, that's when you knuckle down, you research, you come ready to impress, and it goes both ways. You'll see more engagement from the people on the stand if you come ready to have a serious conversation.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Michael and Irena. I think this was very valuable, and I hope we contributed to make recruitment feel a little bit less mysterious, let's say. And of course, if you have questions, a bit more human, hopefully. A bit more human as well, hopefully. You're going to tell us. And before moving on to the next part of our event, the last part of our event, let me show you a sneak peek on what's going on backstage. Because what you see here, it's the actual production room, the production control room, and the people who are making all the live streaming happening, the people who are making sure that everything works out, that we are live streaming globally, and also the team checking out your comments live, they are sitting there. So yes, we are actually live, just like we told you at the beginning, and we are actually reading out your comments. So keep using the chat. Wherever you're watching us from, this is your opportunity to get your questions answered directly by real Ferrero professionals. So keep them coming, all right? And we're gonna have the chance to answer them even later. Thanks again, Michael and Irena. And also now the next guests we're gonna welcome have started their journey at Ferrero as interns. So we learned a bit more about recruitment, and that now we get to see what happens after you get that first career opportunity. Let's start to get to know them. Introduce yourself in one sentence.
I'm Christina, I'm 25 years old. I was born in Luxembourg and I'm of Romanian origin.
Hi, I'm Ayub, commercial controller within the Africa Levante region in Luxembourg headquarters.
What did you study?
I studied management, accounting and audit, and business administration.
I did a double bachelor in economics and applied foreign languages in Strasbourg, and then completed a master's in international management at Sorbonne University in Paris.
What skill did you learn most during your internship?
During my internship, what I really learned most is managing lots of projects at the same time and staying organized even when things get busy.
To turn data into insightful action.
What do your parents think you do?
My parents think I count chocolate.
They think I do only advertising and I'm going on shootings.
What job do your friends think you do?
My friends think I'm basically also always on shootings, eating a lot of products and being the privileged one that knows everything in advance in terms of innovation. So
my friends think I sell chocolate.
Are you more creative or analytical?
I'd say more analytical, with a slight touch of creativity.
I would definitely describe myself more as a creative person.
Skills or attitude? What matters the most at the beginning?
At the beginning, I would say attitude, because showing that you're curious, that you are willing to learn and also open to be challenged sometimes makes a real difference, especially at the beginning.
Definitely attitude.
What's one piece of advice for starting a career?
Stay proactive and act as if everything you do makes a difference, because at the end of the day, it does.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, be open to feedback, and also don't be afraid to make mistakes sometimes, because again, it's totally part of the process. Well, welcome, Ayub and Christina. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we get started, I have one question for you. Expectations versus reality, once again, okay? So before you started your career, did you have any expectations on what professional life would look like, and did anything turn out to be different? Would you like to start, Christina?
Yes, I can start. Maybe I wasn't expecting to be involved in so many projects so quickly, especially at the beginning, and also being trusted already in so many projects. So I was happily surprised, let's say. I wasn't expecting it. And also I learned how important teamwork is actually. I wasn't expecting it because when I was a student, I was working always by myself, mainly on the different school projects. But once I entered the working life, I realized that actually working with your team is super important. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that much either. So yeah.
What about you, Ayub?
I'm linking back to Christina because I think as a newbie joining a company, you're expecting a lot of work behind the scenes, which is typical. But the good reality check that we had with Ferrara is that since day one, you're already involved into big discussions, big projects. You're a key actor into the discussion, and you are key of the strategy that the company is aiming for. So you're already active since day one, and this is a huge benefit for the learning curve that all the newbies have to face when they start a new journey. So that was definitely...
Can we just remind our audience who is watching us live, what role did you start in? So when you did your internship at Ferrero, what kind of internship was that, Ayub?
I was a supply chain controller at group level.
And what about you?
And I was a brand manager for Nutella.
Okay. And Christina,
Yes.
The question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to enter, let's say, a marketing or a brand management role, but feels like they don't have enough experience yet?
So first, I would say that a lack of experience should not stop you from applying, because we all start somewhere and you will learn a lot when you will be actually working in your role. So don't be afraid of it and just apply. And what I would also advise is show the right attitude, show that you're curious, that you are willing to embrace all the challenges that you will be facing, especially at the beginning. And of course, if you have experiences that are more or less close to marketing, don't hesitate to leverage on them as well.
Fantastic. And Ayub, I have another question for you. So is there anything that helped you transitioning, like from being an intern to being a full-time professional?
Since the beginning into numbers, so in controlling, the thing that helped me the most was realizing that communication of the numbers matters as much as analysis. And this is something that helped me since the beginning, and something on which I relied upon and still rely upon up to date. So this is definitely a key that helped me to transition from the mentality of an intern to a full-time employee.
That's great advice, and so take notes because I think this is important, not only if you want to work in controlling, right, but also in other roles. And we have a first question from Nireka. Looking ahead 5 years. Oh wow, this is a tough question, okay? Looking ahead 5 years, what skills, experiences, and leadership capabilities do you believe will differentiate top talent at Ferrero? So basically, if you have to imagine, I would say specifically maybe your roles at the skills that will really differentiate top talent in 5 years. What would those skills be? Christina, I think you're ready.
Yes, I can start. I would say in marketing especially, communication is key, because you will be involved in many creative projects, let's say, where you will need to speak with different stakeholders, creative agencies, production houses. So I think the skill of being comfortable with dealing with different stakeholders, I think it's mandatory and is key to evolve in a marketing role. And also, of course, the classic soft skills such as being always curious. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Always try to learn also from your peers, also from people that are not in marketing but close related fields that you may work with during your project. So it's important to be curious and also be willing to learn also from them. But yes, communication, I would say, with different stakeholders is important in marketing.
So in your opinion, like what you see it's going to be key are also mostly soft skills?
Yes.
Okay. And what about you, Ayub? What do you think are going to be?
I completely align with Christina. So I think the soft skills are the key for, especially in the long-term development, right? Because the hard skills are something that can be learned, more or less. I think it goes back to the discussion of attitude versus skills. I think in a long-term growth, attitude matters the most. So definitely I would stick with communication and being open-minded, not being fully with the ideology of working in a silos. So you're not working alone, you're working with people. So check with them, talk with them, ask questions to them. This is definitely something that will help you in the long run. So definitely.
Thank you. That's great advice. And I'm going to read one last question for you coming in from the audience. Shagayeg would like to know, do you have any advice for someone who already had a stable job but left it to gain international experience abroad, on how to re-enter the job market? So there are many situations like this, right? Maybe you have a stable job and let's say you decide to do your master's. So you quit your job, you move abroad, and then you have to get back to the job market. What advice would you give to a person that had such an experience? Ayub, you want to start?
I think you don't have to feel at a disadvantage because of that. I think this is more of a more important luggage that you're bringing with you to the next job. So the experience was not something on which you wasted time. You're bringing something more to the table, so you can start with that. And going back to the job market after a while can be scary, I think, because you feel like you missed out on something. But I think you always have to go with the mentality that you can always bring something to the table, and you have to know what you're worth in terms of skills, attitude, and capabilities.
What do you think, Christina?
Yes, definitely. It reminds me of my personal experience because I did a gap year before going back to my second year of master's. So I did a gap year and I traveled alone in Southeast Asia. So I took this chance to go, and it was the best experience of my life. And I could, of course, leverage on it when going back to school, when also applying for the internship I applied for at Ferrero. It really helped me to bring something differentiating against the other candidates, so it's something definitely not negative, and you should just value this experience. Yes.
Thank you. I mean, I think this is a great perspective change, right? So looking at it as a competitive advantage and not like a disadvantage. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and for answering all of our questions. It was great having you here.
Thank
Pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you for having us.
But unfortunately, this is the end of our event. So what an hour, right? Thanks to all our guests who have been with us today. And most importantly, thanks to you for joining us live, for sending us your questions. And I would like to ask you one last thing. Can you please type in the chat one keyword or one sentence to describe what's your key takeaway from today? Whatever it is, can you please just type in one keyword from today? But if there's one thing that I hope you're gonna take home with you from this session, it's this. You don't need to have everything figured out to get started. You can have questions, you can have doubts, and you can still apply, you can still learn, grow, maybe build your own path one step at a time. You don't need to have everything figured out. This initiative is part of Ferrero Career Bites. It's a project designed to support people at the beginning of your career. And on ferrerocareers.com/careerbites, you can find more career advice, videos, downloadable resources, and opportunities. And don't forget to follow Ferrero on the official social media channels. By the way, did you know that Career Bites is also on TikTok? So make sure you follow us, and you can type in your questions in the comments to get answered directly by Ferrero professionals. That's it. Thank you so much for being with us, and good luck with your career journey. I'll see you next time. Ciao.